Iman Ghadzi makes millions online and arguably is one of the most influential business characters in the social media space at the minute. He recently invested into WOP and became a co-owner, and this is how he sets up all of his systems in the background to create content at scale, to build a huge audience, and to then funnel into the systems that he has set up so he can continue buying and investing into more businesses and not ultimately just get burnt from additional workload. So at the top of this, he essentially films longer form content. So you can see here, he films podcasts with hosts who have his audience demographic that he wants to then reach more of. These essentially funnel back into his ecosystem. So he's already built a huge audience himself, but what he's then trying to do here is piggyback off other people's audiences. We said it before with the affluent affiliate system that we build. One of the quickest ways that you can scale your business is essentially scaling off the back of other people's audiences that they've built. If they have a similar demographic that you want to tap into, then it makes sense to try and combine your audiences and create some content together that has synergy between your offers. If they offer something slightly different to the market than your offer, and you want to target the same type of people, then it makes sense to hone in on them. He films long form content, ultimately as podcasts and then as YouTube videos. And what you'll then see with this is he's then able to scale this out across numerous different platforms, so he's omnipresent. One of the biggest things with running business at scale and ultimately creating a huge amount of lead flow is being omnipresent across numerous different platforms. It's all well and good building up a business that makes sales from Instagram, but if Instagram goes down, you then don't have anything to fall back on. It's a very risky position if you build your business solely based off one platform alone, because you're in the hands of whoever owns that platform. So you'll see with this big long form content that he produces at the top, he then funnels this down. So what he then does is he's able to then be present across numerous different platforms, which increases the chances of him being seen. For example, you'll then see here, he funnels it into short form, and across short form, 300 monthly impressions just on short form alone, which is probably even higher now since this has been created. So you'll see here that he takes this long form, he then repurposes it into short form. He'll have someone that he pays to clip content for him, but you can also use an AI system that we use quite heavily and suggest to clients called v.io. You can upload your long form content into this, and what v.io will do is it will crop it up into short form content for you and add captions as well automatically. So it allows you to run this at scale. What he then does is he shuffles this content through his Instagram short form, his YouTube short form, and then his TikTok short form. One thing that YouTube seems to favor at the minute is when you're posting content on YouTube, having one YouTube channel that you build up specifically for long form, and then one YouTube channel that you build up specifically for short form. The type of people that tend to engage off those different types of content are different. Some people favor long form, some people favor short form. And one thing that we've seen potentially YouTube favor when you have them as separate platforms. So for example, you have a clips channel or a short form channel and also a long form channel. So you'll then see here that he shuffles all of this long form content that he's recorded across these. This then means that he can have key filming days with other people to tap into their demographic. Then it allows him to then also not have to constantly be filming the whole time, because he has key filming days and then this gets shuffled through. He can then have a few key filming days with numerous different people and not only tap into all their audiences, but then he also has endless amounts of content that he can shuffle through. This then gets posted, and you'll then notice each short form account linked back to his main account for that platform. So then he has essentially lots of these clip accounts. So what he then has is he has his main social media account on that platform. For example, I would have George O'Farrell on Instagram, but then I could have lots of numerous different clips channels. So for example, you'll then see here, he has a motivation channel, a moments channel, a clips channel. Motivation, best, shorts, clips, reels, clips. He has all these clips channels, and the thing with this is when you have your main channel, you're obviously capped to a degree with the amount of content that you can post, because essentially you would eventually alienate your audience a little bit if you're posting content all the time. You can't essentially sit there and post 30 posts a day and not worry about your audience on that account sort of getting burnt through and ultimately getting bored of seeing all your content. And at the same time, what then happens is these people then also see your content all the time, and then they essentially just burn through seeing your face. However, what we can do is we can then create these clips channels, and with these clips channels, you then don't need to worry about posting huge amounts of content and then ending up ruining your engagement on your main account, because you have numerous clips channels. You can have as many as you want, and then it means that you're then seen everywhere across numerous different accounts, and then they're all linked back to the main account. So you can see that, then see down here that his clips channel here on TikTok obviously got hundreds of thousands of followers. He's got a huge audience, and he can get big impressions, and then it feeds back into his main channel here, 3.6 million. Here on Instagram, you can see here, he's got all these clip channels, obviously a big 1.1 million there, but then he's got 1.9 million. So his main channel always has more followers because he has these clip channels that feed him. The same goes here with his short form. So he's got obviously a huge amount of, a huge audience here on these, 105, 116, 103, so about 350K-ish across these short form. That then feeds back into his main longer form channel. Now with this main longer form channel, you'll see that at the time of this, he was pushing exclusive SMMA content. So obviously Iman Ghadzi was initially known for building a social media marketing agency. So obviously his content was specific to that. He then essentially, you'll see in a second, goes on to obviously sell numerous different products to help people, one, make money online, but two, also build a social media marketing agency. Hence why the content was exclusive to social media marketing agency content. You'll then notice with his content, he has different types of content. The thing with YouTube is people then get to know you on a deeper level. Short form's great, but people then don't feel like they know you as much. YouTube, they get to know you even more, and then what you'll find, he then posts specific content for growth to help his platform grow, and specific nurture content. You then feel like you know him, and then you also get the educational side of that too. You'll then notice that he then moves into not just SMMA content, but also content about making money online. So you'll then see here that he then has certain videos where he teaches people how to start a business, how to make money, and that's essentially a VSL, so a video sales letter, where he's giving education, but in the background he's actually being clever with it and selling you on the fact that he could teach you how to make money online and build a business. This then shuffles down into his main sales pages, where when we get onto the aspect of essentially systems. So he has two main offers that he'd run: Agency Accelerator, which is obviously helping you build an agency, and then Digital Launchpad, which is essentially helping you build and make a business and money online. Now you'll notice with these, because of his audience being so big, because he has built that audience and has these clips channels, he will have a huge amount of lead flow coming through. So imagine the fact that he's got hundreds of thousands here, then millions here, and obviously some of these people will be following this as well, so they might be some of the same people, but you also have to realize that some of them won't. So there's a huge pool of people, and he's seen then across short form, he's seen them across longer form, and then this pushes everyone into his main offers. Now the big thing with Digital Launchpad here is this is just without a sales call. So people go on, they literally click purchase. And I think a lot of people then think that the key to scaling their business is ultimately just going to be creating a low ticket, easy to create, hands-off model. They just pump traffic into it, they're going to sit back and do nothing. The reality is, if you want to make a lot of money selling low ticket, you have to have a huge audience. And for the majority of us, selling a lower ticket product isn't going to be the solution to making millions and being able to retire. Instead, what is building a high ticket offer that you don't have to sell as many. If you want to make £10,000 a month, you have to sell a hell of a lot of £97 products compared to selling a few £1,000 products. A few £1,000 products where you deliver an incredible service is going to be easier than selling £97 a month products and then ending up having to go above and beyond for every client because they expect the world. People like Iman Ghadzi with a huge audience can get away with it because they have that audience in the background. Now, if we look into the sales page, the big thing here is he is selling on this page. He's not putting people into a call, he's selling people on the product here. So there's two differences with the sales page. If you're essentially selling people into a call, you have to realize that you need to position that call as being incredibly valuable. Yes, ultimately people are also buying into the fact that you, your product, your service can help them achieve an outcome, but the main thing at this point is you need to sell the next outcome. So for example, if I went onto a funnel page and you were selling a high ticket offer and you were selling it over a call, you would then need to realize that what's the next step in the sales process? Well, it's me booking in a call. it's not at this point me paying, it's me booking in a call. So yes, you need to sell the benefits of the program, not just the features. People see features and they see shiny objects, but ultimately the thing that's going to cause people to invest lots of money in you is making sure that they feel like they can get the key outcome in the end. It's all well and good knowing what's included, but it's even better knowing what they'll get off the back of it. And if they have certainty on what they'll get, then they're going to invest lots of money with you. Now here, because Iman Ghadzi is essentially selling his offer, what he's then essentially selling is he's showing you the features, he's selling the benefits. He's putting social proof behind it with the number of users, but the big thing here is he is selling you to pay now, not to essentially purchase through a call. Now, because of that, his follow-up systems need to be different. So he's then not looking at pushing you through into a call. He's looking at, right, someone's tried to pay. Have they essentially failed their payment, or have they dropped off? So if you think about it, when people go to pay, there will be some drop off. Some people will go on, they'll pay, the money will go through great. Some people will try and pay and the money might bounce, they then might not do it. The big thing here with sales pages, when you're not putting people into a call, is you need to find a way of essentially capturing data and being able to follow up with those people. So in this case, if people go to pay and they don't, he then has a follow-up sequence. And the big thing here is via WhatsApp. When you're looking at essentially follow-up sequences, your open rates, your conversion off the back of things like SMS and WhatsApp are going to be far higher compared to email. And when we look at SMS and WhatsApp generally has a higher open rate because everyone sees WhatsApp's coming through, whereas SMSs, not everyone checks them nowadays. And the thing with WhatsApps is they seem a lot more personal compared to things like SMS. And the big thing here, because Iman Ghadzi has a huge audience and people have a huge amount of know, like, and trust with him, if they were to see a WhatsApp come through from him, they're instantly going to open it because they feel like they're speaking to him. Even though it's automated, if the account has his profile on, if it has his name on it, and it's worded in a way that it doesn't look automated, because there might be a slight time delay, and it will be addressed to the lead's first name, they are more likely to reply to it and then end up purchasing. What we'll then see here is this triggers when there's essentially a failed payment in Stripe. They add him as add the lead as a marketing contact, which will be into a CRM software. For example, we have our own, systemized to scale. They copy the phone number to WhatsApp and then set failed payment product, set failed attempt. By the look of it, I presume this would be automated. Of them copying number to WhatsApp, I presume it would be automated because they'll be running such scale at this, it would need to be. And then essentially you could automate this through a platform like ours. What will then happen is down here, if they opt out of emails, you'll then notice that he has a sequence to essentially try and ultimately just re-sign them. A big thing here is you need systems at every single point. So if you look at your business, you have essentially have a customer journey, and that customer journey naturally has drop off at certain points. And if you can reduce the percentage of leads that drop off at each point, you're going to have a far more profitable business than your competitors, because you're not then going to have to spend as much money on marketing, you're not going to have to chase leads as much, you're essentially going to make sure that a lead comes into your ecosystem, you have systems to move them along to every step, and you're not going to have this drop off. You'll then see a big thing for Iman here is the fact that he's not selling a call, he is essentially selling the fact of the offer without a call. So a big thing with these follow-up systems is essentially when people's payments fail or they bounce, he then has certain follow-up sequences. Now, he does a lot over WhatsApp for the reasons that I mentioned before. WhatsApp open rates will generally be higher than SMS, and as a result, conversions will be higher. You'll then see here that because the goal of this is to have loads of volume in, I don't believe the price point is incredibly high at all. It means that the price point's lower. That means that he's probably attracting a different type of person than someone who would be investing thousands of pounds into a high ticket offer. Now, the big misconception with that I think a lot of people have is they think that, well, it's a lower product, it's easier to run, but it's a different type of person that will generally buy into it. And sometimes you then see, not always, but sometimes you see people who are investing into lower ticket products are people that end up needing more help. They're more needy, they need more assistance, and they potentially have less money available to invest. When they have less money available to invest, the fact that you see it as a low ticket product, to them, they have less money, so it might still be a big expense. So a big thing here is payments might bounce, hence why he has all these follow-up systems to make sure that leads aren't getting lost and clients aren't dropping off for the sake of it. Now, when we look here at the agency accelerator, again, he's funneling people into here. Now, he has a clear funnel, and the big thing here with funnels is it's not overwhelming. He has logo to position his brand, a clear headline, a clear subheading, a VSL, and then a call to action backed up with social proof. Now, a big thing with this is because a lot of people are watching on YouTube, there will obviously be a large amount on desktop. However, the way the world is moving now is the majority of traffic all comes from mobile. A huge percent of your traffic will be mobile. So this then needs to be optimized for mobile, and you'll notice that there's a clear thing here that essentially correlates to if this converts or doesn't, and it's called being above the fold. So essentially, if you pick up your phone, pick up your laptop, what above the fold is when you open up the landing page, before having to scroll, what content is above that. You essentially want all of the key content, your headline, your subheading, your VSL, and then your call to action, and ideally some social proof. For example here, 35,000 plus worldwide students enrolled in the program. Now, you'll then notice here that because this is a slightly higher priced product, he is one, giving people the option to purchase, but two, also giving people the option for a call. However, the big thing with this is for a lot of people, it would not make sense having your price visible. For people like you, potentially, people like me, definitely it wouldn't make sense to necessarily have all of your prices visible because it can turn a lot of people off. The thing is, there's a bit of an exception with this when you're people like Iman Ghadzi with a huge audience, and you can essentially ultimately have your prices more visible because you have so much buy-in. There's so much trust in you, there's so much buy-in to you. You can essentially make a bit of an exception with these things because of that. However, for the majority of people, it wouldn't make sense to have your prices visible. It makes sense to funnel everyone into a call, so your funnel would go straight into a call, they'd book in a call, and then you'd be good to go. Now, with this call booking, a big thing to think about here is the more questions that you have on this call booking form, the more likely it is for you to have drop off. The more questions, the bigger the barrier for the lead to essentially submit their booking and jump on a call. So if you have a huge amount of lead flow, which Iman will, and he probably has a limit to the number of calls that his team can take, he wouldn't want them just be getting on calls for the sake of it. And I think for someone like Iman Ghadzi, a lot of people just want to get on a call with him because they see him as this big figure. So you would want to have qualifying questions on this calendar. Qualifying questions would limit the amount of lead flow that are coming through, but in theory it will qualify it more. If you're not getting a huge amount of lead flow, it doesn't make sense to have a huge amount of questions on there because you don't want to limit the lead flow or create any friction. Now, what you'll then see here is here on the call, he has a qualifying questions. So this calendar here is using a software called iClose. iClose is a cool software. Big companies like Iman use it, Hyros use it, a few different companies like that use it. You can do a very similar approach in our platform as well, where essentially when people go to book, they have to put their details in first. So it's called a partial submission. Now, a big thing here, which again is why Iman's so successful, is he realizes that social media he does not own. He is essentially quote unquote renting that audience. He wants to then capture all of this data, save it into a CRM system that he can then remarket with emails, with SMSs, with WhatsApp. And because his list is so big, he can then take that, put it into ads, retarget them with ads, and also create a lookalike audience to also retarget them with ads. So he's got a partial submission here where people partially submit their data, they click continue, then they can book their calendar. When they then book their calendar, their call's good to go, but if they don't meet the qualification steps, he's captured their details already, and then it ends, and if they do meet it, then they get the option to book in the call. He then qualifies them before the call, and then when the call is closed, they obviously then get onboarded and put into the program. And inside the program, you'll then notice that they're funneled into his software company as well, so that he can then try and upsell them. So a big thing here is he has a software company that he is essentially used to help agencies. So a big thing here is he makes a sale here, and then they're in the program. Then what he's doing is he's making another sale for his other company into a software subscription, which probably has a really high lifetime value. And the reason it has a lifetime value really high is because his agency accelerator program is teaching people how to build a profitable business. If they need a profitable business, then they need systems. And once they have systems and they have clients flowing through them, they won't want to change because they're getting a return from it. He's then got 40,000 users here on the platform at negative cost per acquisition and never ran ads once. So essentially what this means is he's never ran ads once, he's got it through content, and he's got it through upsells through his other content. So you can see here that his essentially process is incredibly streamlined, and he picks up a huge amount of traffic into his main offers, all funneled through from content. And because he has this huge audience, it saves him having to need to run a huge amount of ads. But he has spent years and years building up this audience in the first place. Now, an interesting positioning is he then uses this longer form content and pushes it out across Twitter. Twitter is a very different platform that you don't see that many people using. So he uses this to then essentially post self-development, motivation, and quotes aligned with the overall content strategy. So essentially you'll see here that it sells his lifestyle. People see his lifestyle, they want his lifestyle, they want him to teach them how he built that lifestyle. And inside this lifestyle, he also mixes in his other company, Big Day. So then people see his lifestyle associated with the strategies that he's built, so they want to learn from him. And then at the same time, they see Big Day mixed into this, and they also associate that brand with that lifestyle. So at the same time, what they're then doing is they then see that and they think, well, maybe that's part of the reason why he's successful. They then purchase this. Then you'll notice that he also has a YouTube channel which is unscripted, where you essentially feel like you get to know him a lot more. It's more authentic, it's more raw content, and you feel like you get to know that side of him. He will probably make a huge amount of sales from this because people feel like they get to know him. People want to know the person that they're buying into. Even if you have a company and you're not necessarily as much the face of the company, people want to know who the owner is, and they feel like they buy into it more. You'll notice that you'll be able to sell things at more volume with a higher price point if people know you or the personality behind the company. You'll then notice as well, throughout all this content, he has these key brands that are part of his lifestyle. For example, Big Day, for example, sunglasses. You'll then notice that he features them in his videos, so they're very subtle because he's not directly selling about them, but he mixes them into the content, and because he gets such high footfall, people then see them and end up wanting to buy them. He links these in the description, and then people then flow through and they purchase. They see him wearing these and they see his lifestyle, and they ultimately want that lifestyle. So they think that having these will be part of that lifestyle. He then flows these through into ultimately landing pages which sell these. And you see a big thing with these landing pages, he has an offer running, and it's really clear as soon as you land on here what it is that you get. You'll also notice that there's always an offer. So you get an exclusive hat free when you order 2 sunglasses. Well, if you're gonna order one, you think, well, I might as well order another and I get a hat free. You'll see here as well with the Big Day drink, when I go to buy the drink, I can get 3 months free access to his Big Day training app. So I then buy the drink, I'm more inclined because I get that on top. And then when I'm on his training app, which we see, where are we? Which we see, we have it linked here, which essentially, here, up here. We have his training app up here, where he then also links it into his content. We then essentially get 3 months for free on there, and then I presume we would roll into a payment. And a lot of the time, after 3 months, you'll be using something, you want to stick on it, or you'll forget about it and it'll be a low barrier price point, so you'll end up just rolling on it. So he always then has this upsell. He's not then just having one client pay one amount of money forever. He's essentially always ascending their price. They always end up spending more and adding more to their order. Their lifetime value then increases. If you can focus on increasing the lifetime value of every client that you have, then you're ultimately never going to have to worry about clients again, because all your clients will then become raving fans and they'll keep buying more and more of your products. Now, a big thing with these pages as well is you'll notice that there's essentially 2 differences: websites and landing pages. These down here that he uses here are essentially landing pages. Landing pages are built with one clear outcome, one clear thing that we want to achieve: a purchase, an application, or an opt-in, or even a book a call. We have one clear outcome. Whereas with this content over here, we have more options. So this is more of a website. There's more options, there's more things that I could click on and potentially get lost, but there's not an overwhelming amount. He could have loads of different options up here. The thing is, people then go on here, they'll have more decisions to make, and then they'll get overwhelmed and they might not then purchase. It's clear, it's simple, it sells a lifestyle, and then I know the next steps. So using that system, he then essentially makes millions and millions and millions and is able to run numerous different companies because all of the companies interlink, but they're stemmed from him creating content at the top and piggybacking off other people's audiences. Now, what we do for businesses is we build all of the systems for this, all of the landing pages, all of the automations, all of the follow-up systems, and we create all of the SOPs so you can essentially focus on doing what you do best, which is creating content and then ultimately using our systems to run ads to push more traffic in. We create all of this for you, and we've done it for over 450 different businesses at the time of recording this video, in our all-in-one sales and marketing platform, which replaces all the other subscriptions that you might have running in your business for a far cheaper cost. So if you want us to do that, you can click the link below, you can book in a call, and we can walk you through how we can do just that for you.